Is it Demi or Demi?
Demi.
Demi.
Yeah.
Did you see the readers' questions that came later?
I did.
Those are,
I know they're really good questions.
They're good questions. Yeah. It's kind of good to know in advance, just in case.
Oh, definitely. Oh, yeah, for sure.
You guys got quiet.
I thought you were going to go away, so I'm kind of like, what's happening?
Yeah, you can chat. I've got to just share it over. No, post it to. I just got to post it to the.
So how is your husband doing, Dana?
Oh, he's doing great. In fact, he's back to doing some yard work and he's kind of, feeling his way a little. He's not back to full strength, but he's doing great. He really is.
Good. And are you getting a little relief from caretaker duty?
Yeah, for sure. I try not to do any now.
Yeah. That's always good. And how's your writing?
Really, really good. I found these sprints work real well for me. Faith, Hope, and Love group has sprints with a couple different people at a couple different times during the week. So I join them here and there, and it gets me going. So.
Nice.
And yes, thank you, Charlene. We are here. So sorry.
It's my fault.
Well, I'm trying to figure out, can I put a chat in back to them or say anything? Or they can hear us, right? So
yeah, we're live.
Okay.
We're waiting. Charlene was anxiously waiting.
Yeah, we were waiting for Christine. Doesn't she have a doctor's appointment? Wait for
That's right. We're waiting.
We had a little technical difficulty, so we're so happy that we are all three of us on the platform now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's we think we have it sorted, and then we have one more thing. We're like, I have not dealt with that.
Yeah.
So thank you for your patience, Charlene. Thank you all who are watching. This is Biblical Fiction Aficionados Live. We're happy to introduce yet another author and a couple of housekeeping. We will leave the comments open through Friday. There will be 4 chances to win. So make sure you're commenting. Every comment will go in towards the draw. And so we're really excited about this. We're thankful that finally got it worked out. So we are here today with Demi Griffin, who writes as DM Griffin, and has some fantastic biblical fiction novels. And I'm just really happy that you're here, Demi. I'm so glad that you finally got on our screen.
It's nice to see you face to face.
So we will be sure, if you are watching this in the replay, feel free to comment in this thread. We will be counting up all those comments, and if you left a question beforehand, that will count towards another entry as well. So we're excited to bring on Return of the Sun and chat about that. Now that it just released a week ago, 2 weeks ago.
12 days. 10 on the 10th, so almost 2 weeks. Yep.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
that's exciting.
Yeah, it's always sort of bittersweet releasing the final book of a series, because you're kind of saying goodbye, moving on.
Beverly says hi, Demi, and everyone.
Hi, Beverly. Oh yeah, she was part of my ARC team.
Yes.
Hooray.
ARC readers are.
Yes. And Rebecca, she should be popping in here sometime.
Yeah. Come back, Rebecca, we're here. So comment, let us know where your comments joining us from. We'd love to get to know a feel of where our readers are. I'm in here from Arizona. Dana's here from Arizona.
Right.
California.
It's starting to cool down just a little bit now. So that's nice.
Yeah, I know. It was real chilly earlier. I'm just gonna brag a little bit here because
you're in a cool place, you know.
I'm in a cooler mountains, but it got like down to 40 at night one of these a couple nights ago. So
that's pretty nice.
That's nice. It's
nice
now. In a couple months, it won't be nice anymore.
Oh, well, so see, that's the advantage because even still, it keeps pretty mild up here.
Oh, that's good. Okay.
In our little mountain town. So
nice.
Where are you from, Demi?
I am in Northern California, so
it's always nice there.
No, we had 100 degrees last week, and I was just done with it. I want the fall weather, and it's better today. It's in the 80s, but I'm ready for 40 degrees. So
yeah. Charlene is here from New Jersey, another super ARC fan. Kathy is here from North Carolina. Kathy, how did you do from the hurricane?
Yeah.
Let us know in the comments. I know it's probably still pretty rough over there. Rebecca. Mom, get out of the shower. Let's go.
I love that.
Beverly is here from Ohio. We've got Oregon, cool and cloudy. I bet that's real nice.
That sounds nice right now.
Kathy says, I'm in the middle of the state, so we didn't get anything, but we've been doing a lot of work helping those guys in the mountains. Wow. Thank you for serving in that way. That's can't even imagine.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
All right. So let's get right into the return of the sun. Here.
Are we ready for me to read the blurb?
Ready. Tell us about it, Dana.
Well, her life was perfect. At least her childhood was. Eve never wanted anything except her father's presence. As a prominent advisor to the evil King Herod, Eve's father was split between his duties to the king and his duties as the only living parent for his daughter. With no heir to claim his family's land, Eve's father did just what any loving father would do. He arranged for her marriage. But this wasn't just any betrothal. Her potential husband was related to the king she despised.
Dun, dun, dun.
What will happen next?
Well, so when I started reading it, it's actually got a surprising Christmas element happening in there. So that's pretty cool too. So can you, I don't think that's too much of a spoiler, is it?
You don't think so? I
mean, it's like it's in the first chapter or two, so.
True. Yes. And it'll jump to that question you're about, like getting painted into a corner, because I didn't know how to put David in the scene where Herod makes a decision after he meets the wise man and how he's going to react.
Okay, so Rebecca says it is a spoiler, so I guess.
Okay. All right. I won't say anything, but part of the book takes place during the time of Jesus's birth. We'll leave it at that.
Well, the biblical character is that you're following throughout the whole book is the widow.
The widow, yes. A backstory of her, what possibly could lead up to the little encounter that we see in scripture. Yeah. So small.
And this is why we love biblical fiction, because we only see one verse about her, the widow from Nain. And
very significant, of course, but still.
She met Jesus, yeah.
So
what led her to that point?
Yeah.
And what was her culture, and why did she make this decision? So, so how did you get started in writing, and what surprised you most about your journey as an author?
Kicking and screaming. No. It was sort of like walking down a forest path and not knowing where you're going, and then you open up on this meadow and you say, oh, this is kind of a nice place to be. So I have not enjoyed writing in my life, but I've always felt compelled to do it. So I've had this sort of tension with writing since as long as I can remember. Never.
I know you're switching genres next year, but is it always like, is biblical fiction just your first, or is there another?
Nope. I never intended to do this, and it's a good thing God didn't tell me this was the plan, because I probably would have. There's a lot of me and Eve. I was gonna say.
I'm feeling a little similarity here.
So, it started off with devotionals, and definitely would never have imagined biblical fiction. I did not grow up in a Christian home. I didn't grow up going to church. I didn't read the Bible until I was in my 30s. So that was the biggest surprise, that of all things, I would be writing biblical fiction. Shocker. Plot twist. Amazing. So I would have never imagined that. The way this got started is funny. I led Bible study for 5 years at my church, and there was a lady there, and I used to write the devotionals instead of copy them and read them. I would write them myself, and she would come to me afterwards. She said, you have to write for God. And I'm like, oh, sure. And I would just dismiss her, but she was so persistent. So one year I said, I would like to give her a gift and put all the devotionals in like a little book and give it to her, just because she's really sweet. She liked them. And I didn't want to give them to her in a binder. So I started trying to figure out a way I could make it look better. And that is how I got started on writing. Yep.
Interesting. Well, I think my next question kind of leads right into that, because I said, before we begin to discuss the book, it's hard not to mention this. You have published 4 biblical novels this year. That's amazing. And so can you tell us a little about how it happened? And it sounds like maybe it came out of that.
It definitely.
Well, and it's not even just for a year. It's like 28 in the last couple of years. So
it's been kind of crazy. I can blame it on my high school English teacher. Honestly, I had junior and senior year of high school, I had an English class where we would go in every day. We would sit down, take out our pens, 5 minutes. There would be a prompt on the board, and you had to write for 55 minutes. You couldn't stop, 4 days a week. I hated that class. I did not like that class. But I realized, looking back on it now, that it was the training ground. I can just do that.
You can write fast.
So I don't have to plot. I just sit there, I think, and then I just go. And it was just this, it was 2 years of that I did that. That was my English class. Wow. And I was so happy to be done with it, but it stayed with me, that ability to just write. So
cool.
And it's also a pet peeve. I have to admit that I don't release books until I finish the series, because as a reader, I've always been a really, insatiable reader. I have stumbled upon a couple of series where the author didn't finish them, and I don't like that. So I always said to myself, I wasn't going to do it until I made sure I could finish the entire series. So I never release a series till the whole thing's done. So I could have just done them back to back each month, because they were already done, but I spread it out over the year. But yeah, I don't even start until I have the whole series finished, because wow. I don't, and I also don't like to wait. So I'm reading a series with my son and his favorite author, and it's been over a year, and I've moved on. So I know the next book's coming out in the spring, and I'm like, that's just me. So yeah, that's just me. I like to binge read, binge watch TV, that kind of thing. So yeah.
Well, should we get into some of these reader questions, Naomi?
I know, they were so good.
Yeah, we got some great interaction there.
Yeah,
I love it. All right. So first we have Anne and Sumana. Forgive me if I'm saying that wrong. The amount of research must be enormous when writing a historical novel. What sources are the most helpful to you?
Yes, definitely. That's always the tricky part is the research. I am very fortunate because I work at a church as the office manager, and my pastor has given me full access to his library, and he has everything. I have commentaries, encyclopedias, magazines, books galore. It's been a wonderful resource for me.
It's great.
That is just priceless, and he's super supportive. So that's been very helpful. I can even ask him, I'm looking for this, and he will point me in the right direction. So that's really nice. And of course, online. I also have lots of books. I have all the works of Josephus and all these old church history books, and but commentaries are very helpful too. And but there's so many wonderful sites that you can research online, which is great. Yeah, there are a lot of things out there that 20 years ago would have been so much harder to do. Now you can do it so much easier. So, great.
Well, let's see. Christine Kilner says, which biblical character has impacted you the most personally?
Oh, that's a good question. I would have to say there's two. So first would be Paul, because I relate to Paul in the way that my life story was written. I was not a believer in God all the way up until past college, and I could tell you some amazing stories of how God turned that around. But my encounter with Jesus happened in 2010, and everything changed in my life. So as he does, and I can just really relate with Paul because I had my Damascus Road experience, going from I was one thing, I'm completely different now than I was. And God, that's all his grace and his patience, and I think a lot of that came through in this story too. that patience, that continually, you know, relentless pursuit of God's love is just an amazing thing.
So that kind of sounded like, I'm just going to veer off here. That sounded like a Chosen blurb. Have you watched The Chosen?
I've watched a little bit of it, but it was so aggravating. I so wanted to watch it, but I was in the middle of writing a series on the 12 disciples. I said, I'm not going to watch it because I don't want to be influenced. So I would send my chapters to this friend to look at, and she'd come back. She said, "Oh, you're writing exactly what they're doing in The Chosen." I said, "What?" I said, "No, people are going to think I copied from the show." I said, "This is terrible." So I would try to change it. She goes, "No, don't change it. It's really good." I said, "Oh." So yeah, but I've watched a little bit of it. For 2025, I want to. My daughter's boyfriend is having some growth in faith, and so he wants to watch it with us, so we are going to commit to do that in 2025. We're going to start with season 1 and watch it all the way through.
Oh, that'll be fun. That'll be really fun. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think that's yours.
Oh, yeah. So Rebecca wants to know, and Rebecca, did you know it says that you are an all-star contributor to BFA? Just letting you know that. This is Facebook's little measurement system. How did you decide which people in Scripture to give a story to?
That always comes inspirationally. Usually on my walks, I'll be praying and meditating, and they just come to me, and it'll be in my daily reading. I can't read the Bible without engaging my imagination. It just doesn't happen. I have to think about the backstory of characters in my mind, and now it translates into stories. It didn't used to, but now it does translate into stories, and I get super excited. I find lots of inspiration from Scripture, and the Encounter series. It's interesting because when I was on staff at the church, we would have these meetings in a conference room, and they had a picture on the wall. I wish I had it, but it's of a woman's hand, and she's reaching the hem of Jesus's robe, and there's like a bright light. It's just, and I would sit in the meetings, and I was right opposite the wall that had that picture, and I would just sit there looking at that picture, and I would be writing the story in my head. This is before I started writing novels, and I thought, that would be a really good story to tell. And that's how that planted the seed for the Encounter series. I thought, what was the story that led up to the encounter? I mean, all of us have that story. What is your story that leads up to your encounter? And I got super excited about picking these 4 ladies, and I liked it that they didn't have names. So it's fun to give them names,
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, okay.
I guess as her mother-in-law is on the 4th time through the entire 4 seasons.
Wow.
I do love The Chosen. I know, it's wonderful.
It sounds like it's your type of thing, because really it says like their theory is binge Jesus. Like, so I really think you're going to be like Rebecca's mother-in-law here next year.
I know, but see, they're not all done yet. So I'm sort of like, oh, should I wait because they don't have all the seasons done?
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of fun to wait for them, though. You can go back to the beginning and watch them all over again. They really have a lot of, I think, depth, and they're fun to just look at again.
Yeah.
If you missed the first time.
Yeah.
Okay. What piece of historical information in your research did you find most interesting?
Oh, okay. On this one, and I have to tell you, it's a little hard because I did this about 3 years ago, so I don't remember all the details of the research. My mind right now is in a whole different area of research that's filled with all these random facts. But one of the things I remember struck me as I didn't know about Herod's brother. He had this brother, and he was supposed to marry his wife's sister, and he didn't because he married a slave woman instead. And I thought, oh, I have to use that somehow. That's really interesting.
Wow.
And so it ends up being kind of the backstory of one of the side characters. But I found Herod's dynasty drama pretty interesting. There was a lot, and I think Tracy Higley goes into a lot more detail in The Queen's Handmaiden. That's a really good book as far as Herod's dynasty goes. And so I think that was most interesting to me. I kind of got lost a little bit on researching all his evil ways.
Evil.
Right. So
okay.
You know who has a really in-depth on I believe it's Antipas. Anyway, Katrina Hamill. I do know who I'm talking about.
Oh, she does.
She has the Court of the Tetrarch, and it is fantastic on that. So she's got a lot of.
I love her stuff. Yeah, I read. What did I read? The last book in that she put out.
Oh yeah, Herod Stewart.
That's it. Yep. I really, really enjoyed that. That was so good.
Very cool. Charlene wants to know, what is your favorite book of the Bible?
Okay, that's a nice story too. God is so good. Philippians is my favorite book in the Bible, and it's a funny story. So I was, pretty new at following Jesus, and the church. There was a gal at the church that memorized all of Romans 8, and then she stood up in front of the church and she went through, and it was very moving to me. I was amazed, and I thought, I would like to memorize a portion of the Bible. So I decided to do the book of Philippians, and it's short. It's only 4 chapters, and if you read it all the way through, it takes about 25 to 30 minutes. But memorizing it is not that quick. I think it took me about 6-7 months, and it's that daily thing. You have to keep adding to it, because if you asked me right now to do it, I couldn't do it because I stopped going over it. But here I was feeling pretty proud of myself. And I thought, oh, by Christmas, I want to have this book memorized. And I did. And on January 3rd of that year, I was going into my kitchen to make a cup of tea and I collapsed. And I went to the hospital and I had to have a whole series of MRIs. And they put your head in a cage and they do this dye thing. And I'm not claustrophobic, but it was not comfortable. And I remember them telling me, you know, don't move. And of course, as soon as they stick me in the tube, my nose itches. I'm thinking, oh, this is terrible. I was in there for an hour and 20 minutes. And I went through the book of Philippians 3 or 4 times, and it just kept me. I was fine. It was amazing. It just was my anchor. And what really amazed me is that God knew I would need it prior to me. It was a week after I finished memorizing it that happened. And it just happened. And he knew it was going to happen. I couldn't have known. It was a beautiful gift. So that will always be my favorite book of the Bible.
That's much better than my answer, which was they took the MRI and they said, you've got all these Hebrew squiggles in your brain. What is that? Sorry. It's a very moving story. That's wonderful.
Yep.
Okay. Now the big bad question that we all dread. Biblical fiction can be very misunderstood by some as adding to God's word. Have you had to deal with that criticism, and how have you responded?
Yes, I cry. No, I I don't handle criticism well, and yes, it's very hard. And sometimes I cry to God, like, why are you having me write this? Because people get mad, and but at the end of the day, I do it because I think, and God has shown me that biblical fiction, and I in no way intend to add to God's word or, you know, mishandle it. I want to be so careful, and I ask always for forgiveness if I make mistakes. And but one of the things I like about biblical fiction is that it gives a good bridge. I have people in my life that don't know scripture and don't read the Bible, and yet they will read the books, and we can talk about characters in a way that's less prone to make them defensive. You know, if I just come at them with scripture, they're going to shut me down. But if we're talking about books, we can talk about biblical themes. And you know, and Jesus did that. He's taught in parables. He, you know, he reached the crowd in a way that kind of skirted those defenses. And it has been true in my life. I have people that we can have wonderful conversations that might not happen if we were talking about you or me, or, you know, but we're talking about a character, and, oh, how did you like that character's, you know, journey to faith? And so for that reason, I like biblical fiction. But I also understand, I completely respect people that don't want it in their lives, or they, you know, we all know how we're wired, and that's fine. It's not for everybody.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, isn't it your turn, Naomi?
Yeah. Tell us about Eve. What does she want, and why can't she have it? And we heard that she's a little bit
Did you just love her?
She's growing.
Yeah. So Eve she embodies a woman's unique ability to vex a man. I'll just say. No, she is. I did love her story of maturity and resistant, you know, faith. And we see, that's why I put the scene in the beginning when she's a child, so you can see that she does have a good heart. But we're all teenagers at one point, and she is a teenager, and she's also a bit of a diva because she's an only child, and I'm an only child, so maybe a little bit of me in there too. So yeah, so we see her wanting, what does she want? She wants to control her world. That's what she wants. And she wants God to meet her expectations. And when he doesn't, she gets a little fussy. And so we have a story there. So, yes. And I think probably she's a good mix of me and my two daughters. Her personality, I probably based it off of the three of us. Because it's one thing I remember myself as an adolescent, and I didn't have God in my life, but I also know what it was like to be a mom of two teenage girls. So
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of that in there.
I did laugh at Eve quite a bit. And it's, the other thing is, like, you can either relate to a character or you can go, I'm not that bad.
Yes.
And so, I was justifying myself every once in a while.
Right.
I've matured some. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, I was fascinated, on the other hand, by your character, David, the male protagonist in Return of the Sun. What led you to write this character's surprising story?
Yeah, I do. I love David. I positioned him in the story to be kind of the pointer to God. He's definitely not a Jesus type, because he has flaws and he makes some bad decisions at different points in his life. But he has patience. He has certain attributes, that relentless pursuit and the thinking ahead, sacrificing. He's a very strong character, and I really did enjoy writing him. But his is also like Eve. They have parallel stories. They just both dealt with the tragedy in their lives in different ways. And his is hers was just a general maturity in how she was as a woman, but you can see the maturity of faith in his story arc, as his faith, in the beginning there's fear that guides his choices and his decisions, but in the end it's definitely faith, that he makes his choices based on faith. And that, I love that. That's how I want to be.
I think we all are striving for that. And he's a very heroic character in that way.
Yeah.
I really did like him. I don't know. Am I out of turn? But I was going to ask. No, I am out of turn. You're next, Naomi.
Well, I was thinking, let's do the one that you were mentioning earlier, how you painted yourself in a corner, and then
Yes.
such great comments from
yes
the readers, that maybe we could jump into the game here in a second.
Yeah,
absolutely.
What was the tricky spot that you found yourself in here?
So Herod makes a decision to send his guard out to do something that I did not think David would do, given the kind of character that he was and the kind of character I wanted him to be. And I thought, well, how am I going to do this? Because he wasn't, at that point in the story, he wasn't bold enough to stand up for his convictions. But at the same time, I didn't want him to be part of it. So I thought, oh, what am I going to do? Do I just make him sick and he stays home, or, but then I knew I wanted to have that scene in the story. So I ended up making him a bystander. And then this beautiful interaction that I had not anticipated when I started writing it happened. And I thought, oh, that's really good.
That's really good.
No spoilers though, but it ends up coming back at the latter half of the story. And I love that, because I feel like those little nuggets are just God's kind of,
absolutely,
little special surprise for me. So I can enjoy it. Like, oh, I would have never thought of that. Thank you, God.
Very good.
So that was fun.
Okay, so we're going to do the game now, Naomi?
Yeah, let's do the game.
Okay.
We have concocted.
I'm excited.
I think it'll be fun. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So what we're going to do, if you're just tuning in now, if you are watching the replay, thank you so much for joining us on Biblical Fiction Aficionados Live. What we're going to do is leave the comments open through Friday. So be sure to enter in. We need your knowledge here for this game for an extra added level. So comments in the chat, and then we can each of those will count as an extra entry for the giveaways, and there's 4. So this is book 4 in the series. So Demi is giving away an ebook of one of each of the 4 of the encounter.
And they're all standalone. So
they're all standalone.
Yeah, they don't have to be read in order or anything.
So super exciting. All of your comments will count towards the entry there for that. And the comments will be left open through Friday. So here's the game. I am going to give Demi and Dana a letter of the alphabet, and they have to come up with a book of the Bible for this letter. And then whoever gets it first is going to get the point. And then here's where you come in as a watcher, as a reader. After we have this book presented, like let's say Ecclesiastes is one that they choose. Then somebody would have to come up with a biblical fiction that goes with Ecclesiastes or that takes place in this book that Demi or Dana have mentioned. So if that's not confusing enough, so be ready with your typing fingers. And then when one of these ladies shouts out the book, then type in a biblical fiction that corresponds with said book. So is there any questions about that right off the top of the bat? Comment in the chat. Let me know. My brain is too mushy to even follow. All right, so just be thinking about books, biblical fiction books. I think we'll get the hang of it. So if, let's see, Ecclesiastes, like for example, I believe in Misu Andrews' 300th wife, Solomon is.
How about if we do instead of books, Dana and I will give a character. So like say A, we could say Abigail, and then you say, was it Abigail that Misu Andrews just came out with?
Yeah, that was her. Ahinoam was her.
Ahinoam, yes.
And
right.
Here's the good news. Even if your answer is wrong, it counts towards a win in the
no pressure.
Yeah. You can start typing now. Just start typing in your
favorite book.
And if you can, say both the title and the author, because we are promoting, by the way.
So like I was saying, is if you do you want to do names, Dana and Demi, or do you want to do the books of the Bible?
How about what if we get a brain freeze? Yeah, whatever comes
to mind.
Yeah. And then you go, Abigail, and then they go, that's not a book of the Bible.
So let's say if it was Ecclesiastes, and I could write in 300th wife, because that's one that does talk about a little bit about Ecclesiastes.
No, you're
so
kind of a show off. I don't remember 300th wife.
It was in a novella collection. It was 300th wife, the mole's wife, it was Jerusalem's Mole, maybe. I don't know. It was just like a real short story collection. So
You're just so smart.
I mean, you know what you know. So I don't know that it's
okay. There we go.
But yeah, so then just comments about books that you've read or books that you know about that will tie in with either these books of the Bible or the
I wonder if I should say the letters. And you guys,
you want to do that?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, I'll say the letters. I know the letters of the alphabet.
Yeah, well, don't go in order, because then we could think ahead.
Okay.
So you could
just pick a random letter, and Naomi and I will have characters or something.
Okay, M.
Matthew.
Martha, from Up from Dust.
She's giving her own book title. Matthew and Dividing Sword by Katrina Hamill.
Well, I don't know. They were supposed to be typing something. You guys were supposed to say the name or something, right?
Yeah, they're supposed to come up with the titles. We've just
that was just practice.
That was a practice.
So all right, Rebecca, get ready. Get ready. Get your brain.
Get your fingers ready.
Who gets that point? Who gets that point? Who came up with it first?
Nobody wrote anything because
me or Debbie.
Yeah.
I want a point. No, just kidding.
All right, next.
Obadiah. And that's a struggle. Whoops. I won't say it.
Somebody.
But it's coming out in November.
Okay. We have them bamboozled.
Oh, yeah. Do you know, Naomi, you know what book I'm thinking of, right?
I think
Obadiah.
the book is, are you talking a character Obadiah or like?
The character Obadiah in the book
No.
that's coming out in November by Marilyn Parker. A Struggle for Courage. It's so good.
Okay.
I just finished reading it, so that's not fair.
Okay, let's try C. The letter C, like cat.
C. Choose that.
Corinthians.
Oh,
Corinthians.
Corinthians. Okay. Okay.
I'm still on characters. Sorry. Yeah.
Rebecca, do you know any Roman books? You've been reading a lot of Carol Ashby. Isn't Corinthians about right?
Well, it'd be probably more Paul. Any Paul books.
That's right.
Because Carol's, I think, take place a little bit later.
Yeah. She's after that. In fact, she's into the.
I feel like Carol Towers has. Oh, here we go. Herod's
There you go.
There we go.
Good for you, Rebecca.
Yeah,
woohoo! There's a first one from the Peanut Gallery.
Yay!
All right. There's a point. Okay. The next letter is going to be Y.
Ooh.
I'm still stuck on the books of the Bible.
Yeshua.
Oh. I think that's like the church answer for everything.
Well, okay, wait. Doesn't Connie Lynn Cosette use Yaakov for
I think
Shield of the Mighty or Voice of the Ancients?
Yeah. And then also Yasmin.
Right.
I think the one that's the story of the demoniac starts with a Y too. Yeah. Yes.
Oh yeah, Yasmin. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You're right.
Okay, I'm going to go for a classic novel, classic Christian fiction biblical novel. And I'm going to think of the names in there or the title. And I'm going to go for L.
Not really.
L. Lydia.
A lion. It could be a character.
Didn't somebody write a book with the title Lydia?
Yeah, Jennifer.
Characters, Lydia. I think Angela Hunt wrote.
Yeah, about Lydia. But I think one of Jennifer's servant siblings has Lydia in it. Let's see. What are my characters' names?
Can anybody give us that title? Give us the title with Lydia in it.
Of Fire and Lions.
Very good, Rebecca.
Oh, that's what you're thinking of.
Points.
Yeah. That really says they did. They did write the Lydia books.
Okay.
That's right.
See, you guys are super advanced readers. Like you just know it all.
You know what? I'm cheating. I'm just looking on my P. It's a title. Or whatever you can guess.
Philippians.
Yeah, Philippians.
Philemon. That was a character in Matthew Elliott's.
Yeah, finding Philemon.
Readers. Yes. Okay, there we go. Petra. That's a book title.
Petra. Yes, that's right. That one was recent. Yes.
I know one other. Can anybody else think of it? It's 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 words. The first one begins with P. By Tessa Afshar.
Oh, Prince.
Oh yeah. It's on the tip of my tongue.
A real old one. I'm going for the old ones.
Oh, the old ones.
Yeah.
Pearl in the Sand.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
You know what?
Yes.
I don't don't know if we're supposed to give the answers.
Sure, why not? We're morphing
It's
it.
biblical fiction trivia.
The hidden prince.
Yay,
That's what
Rebecca.
I was thinking.
Coming up with all the answers. Okay,
I
good
love it.
job. All right. Let's see. R.
Rahab's Courage by Naomi Craig.
Okay, all right.
I'm still stuck in like the Bible verse. I'm like, what book is in Romans?
Oh, this was a little play on. I'll tell you, if you were listening to Demi's book, this might help you. If it's E and the title has an E in it.
The Encounter series by Demi Griffin.
Well, yes, there we go. There's more. There's more. Come on, somebody from the Peanut Gallery. Let's see what
a book that starts with E.
It's got an E in it. E is the last word. Daughter of
Eve, Eden, daughter of
Eden. Daughter of Eden.
Oh.
And that is about Eve, right?
That's Jill Eileen Smith, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say, okay.
That's on my list. I want to read.
Yeah.
That's right, Beverly. That's
nice.
Right. Okay.
Sometimes under the pressure is like a cat.
Okay. The pressure. I mean, here's a real old one, probably the oldest biblical fiction you know of, and it also has an R title.
The Robe.
Yes.
Oh.
Very good. Okay. Any
Daughter
other?
was a thought-provoking book.
Here's another one, another oldie but goodie. It has a F in it.
Like how old? Like Robe old?
As old as the Robe, probably, yeah.
Ben-Hur does not.
Is there a book called A Feast and Famine?
Yes. Ooh. That's a good one. That's a good
Who's
one.
that by? Who's that by?
Misu.
It is Misu.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All I can think of is like, I mean, you're probably
the big.
all Fisherman's
Wife.
Is that it?
The Fisherman's Wife. I love it.
Is that what you're thinking though?
The Big Fisherman.
Oh, the Big Fisherman. Hey, we're close. We've got his wife here.
Yeah. Okay, you guys, one of you do letters, and I'll try guessing for a little bit.
Okay. How about
and the Peanut Gallery? Try to guess.
And knows if it's a book. It sounds good. All right. W.
Wanderer Scorned by Natasha Woodcraft.
W. I feel like this is Scategories now. It's changed into Scategories.
I kept wanting to say X, but I thought that was just too terrible. There's no X books, is there?
No.
I mean, you could like Xerxes if something has a Xerxes in it, then.
Yep.
I don't think there is one though. I mean, there's a book where Xerxes is, but it's not titled that, or he's in it. Yeah. Xerxes is in.
needs to write a book about Xerxes so we can have an X.
He's in the ones about Esther, isn't he? Because wasn't he the king?
Yeah. But wasn't his other name Ahasuerus?
Yes.
Ahasuerus.
Yeah. So that would be A.
That guy. I mean, if you count X-ray or then I think our
X is a tricky letter. Yes.
Yeah.
We should let Demi read now.
We could just keep going. This is so much fun.
Keep going, but you know what? We're not getting audience participation. So.
Right.
Yes. Let's end this.
Okay. Super fun.
We love you guys. We want to hear from you. So you can comment during the reading too.
Okay, so bear with me because I was planning on reading this from my Kindle, so my eyes don't function as well with a book. But Okay, so just to set this up, this is the third interaction that Eve and David have, but it's the first interaction that they have where they actually know they know who the other person is. The first two, they didn't really know who they were. So this little scene sets up the dynamic of the relationship pretty well. So I just wanted to share it. David stood alone, wishing that those particular emotions hadn't pricked his memory. Now he struggled to keep his composure. Would the Almighty forgive him? He recalled his prayer from earlier, so simple but so layered with desperation. Forgive me. He heard the rustling behind him as someone descended the stairs. Assuming it would be Adasa returning, David turned around. What he saw took his breath away. The woman wore a dark blue dress that contrasted with the color in her eyes. The light brown shoulder-length hair peeked out behind a white headscarf, and this wasn't any woman. This was the servant he met earlier. He saw her eyes widen as she recognized him. That earlier encounter haunted them both in this moment, but for very different reasons. A fissure of his heart expanded with hope. This was his betrothed? The slightest hint of a gratuitous whisper intended for the Almighty shivered through his soul. A gift had been offered to him, a divine deposit of attraction already in his heart. The sudden flush of embarrassment on her face tugged at his heartstrings, providing a glimpse into the servant's hidden feelings for him in the animal enclosure. He was certain he had not imagined it, brief as their encounter had been. The feeling was mutual, but then, just as swiftly, the vulnerability was chased away by a hardening of the expression and a stiffening of her posture. The gift of a wife, it would seem, would have to be opened with much care. The contents inside the divine offer were fragile, even if she acted anything but delicate. You? Her lips turned downward into a frown. Why didn't you tell me who you were? David bristled under the accusation in her tone and the look of disdain in her mesmerizing eyes. This was a battleground he was not familiar with, nor had he expected it. Why didn't you tell me who you were? He lobbed the arrow back in her direction, the soldier in him unable to ignore the instigation. I just assumed you would know. She fingered the edge of her headscarf. It wasn't the one. David returned to her. Adasa looked between them with uncertainty. How would I know? A wave of irritation washed over David, fueling his frustration. This was not the way he imagined their first meeting. Well, actually, their second. The first had been far more delightful, except for the circumstances. You were inside a stall, wearing a soiled tunic and no headscarf, she huffed. My tunic wasn't soiled, and you know full well the reason my headscarf had fallen off my head. Feisty and determined, just like David remembered, the image of the little girl who had insisted on bringing him food came into focus. The familiarity. She had matured into a beautiful woman, but the child was still very much a part of her, especially regarding getting her own way. David toned down his voice. My apologies for not realizing who you were. He offered her his arm. She didn't take it. I am capable of walking on my own. She strode past him and out the door. Dumbfounded, David watched her go. If he didn't know any better, he would think she hated him. And they barely met. The irony of it forced him to stifle a chuckle. Don't worry, Adasa put a hand on his shoulder. She just needs time. Well, I am willing to give her a lifetime. I hope it isn't squandered. David's heart regrouped as he heard Adasa's melodic laughter behind him. The sound was a welcome relief. By the time they got outside, Eve was already far ahead of them, her dress swaying beautifully as she crested the hill. Outwardly, she was a beauty. David found himself pondering the elusive appearance of her heart. How long would it take him to break down the barriers so he could glimpse it in its fullness?
Very good.
Yay.
Yes.
That's beautiful. And that is actually like right where I'm at. So
Is it?
no spoilers, you said, and yet
I love it.
Awesome. Well, congratulations. This is so exciting.
Thank you.
And I'm enjoying Return of the Sun very much.
Yay.
Charlene says, love it. Kathy says, wow, can't wait to read it.
I'm excited.
Well, we have 2 questions though. What do you have planned next, and where can readers find out more about you and your books?
Yes. So I have a website, devotedsteps.com. There's prayers and devotionals, and all my book stuff is on there. I also have the Amazon author page under, I think it's under DM Griffin, or it's under Devoted Steps, one of the two. And I am going to be jumping genres next 3 years. And hopefully I have this, I really want to do this biblical fiction series for 2028. I'm writing my books for 2027 right now, but these 2028 books have been on my brain for so long. It's called Spirit Ignited series, and 4 books, 4 people in the crowd at Pentecost. Cannot wait to start writing those. But I've written 2 of the books for my 2027 series. So 2025 and 2026, I'll be doing Christian fantasy. And then 2027, I'm going to do historical fiction. And hopefully, Lord willing, 2028, I'll come back to biblical fiction. Yay.
Rebecca really enjoyed Return of the Sun. My review's not up because chemo brain is real. And she loves Devoted Steps. Kathy. He's laughing at the face I made. Can you? Well, I mean, come on. I'm like writing on I write really slow, so to be thinking that far ahead.
You didn't have my high school teacher.
No, I didn't. Becca says that sounds awesome, and Beverly is protesting. No, I want more biblical. Dummy, you do them so well.
And wait a minute, you talked about the women at Pentecost, and that's biblical, right?
Yeah, but
that'll be
28,
2028.
Oh.
But my series next year is allegorical, biblical. It's whole Bible. This thing, I tell you, I've been working on this for 5 years, and it just, my brain, it's setting up the whole world. Then they have a fall, and then the evil comes in, and it's this whole spans all these ages, and they're trying to get to the illumination where the world can go back to the way it's supposed to be. It's biblical fantasy. So it's not random fantasy. I definitely have a lot of biblical themes in there. So
well, I think you've got the breadth. You can do that. So you just go right ahead, and we'll just check it out.
Yeah. So very exciting.
That's funny. Yeah. Not random.
Not random fantasy.
Kathy votes with Bev. Thank you, Rebecca. Your books are wonderful, Naomi and Dana.
Thank you. Oh, that's nice to hear.
That's so sweet. I'm so impressed that you were already planning that far ahead. Dana and I did talk about BFA for 2025. We did that.
Yeah.
Week. So we're thinking ahead too.
I love it.
Charlene wants to know when your first fantasy will be out. So you have the whole series, and you're going to be spacing them out again, or?
So it's interesting because the series is okay. So don't get upset, but it's 7 epic books and 4 novellas, so it's 11 total. So I'm going to do 1 a month, Lord willing. Hopefully, we'll see how that goes.
That's amazing.
They're all done. I'm just doing a final edit. So, releasing them is not a big deal. So hopefully.
Oh, yeah, it's not a big deal.
We'll just see what happens.
I mean, it's like some people can probably read that fast. I certainly can't, but
I do read fast too. Yeah. And I don't have plans to market these. I kind of ran out of funds this year, so I'm not going to market them. So they're just going to be popping up on my thing. And if people notice, yay. Then if they don't, oh well.
Well, I don't know a whole lot about marketing, but I've kind of thought that they indicate that when you do a lot of releases, that's kind of like marketing. So maybe that'll take care of itself.
Oh, really? It hasn't worked for me.
Well, yeah, so that's one strategy, is to have that rapid release. So I think you're really going to, there might be other, layers to it, but
Yeah.
I'm kind of learning the indie side myself. But
yeah,
that is one strategy. It's admirable, but
it's tricky. So we'll see what happens. I mean, they're all written. I'm just trying to do continuity, because when you write that many, you forget, and so trying to make sure it's seamless is a little tricky. But there's Bible stories that are reflected throughout, so it's not like I said, it's not random fantasy. It's my catchword.
Well,
I'll put that on the back of the book.
Yeah.
Not random fantasy.
Well, so be sure if you're tuning in, be sure you're following Demi, because I know biblical fiction readers are also other readers too. So if you're interested in epic, year-long, once a month fantasy, do you have a newsletter, Demi, that they can hear all the details on?
I put my newsletter on my website, and so if people want to see it, they can click on it and check it out. But I don't email it out.
Okay.
Well, you know what? You're in good company, because I believe that C.S. Lewis and Tolkien wrote Christian allegorical fantasy.
Right.
Yeah. Yet all of us have read those. So
yeah, this is very much a mashup of Pilgrim's Progress, Chronicles of Narnia, and Lord of the Rings. It's like a mashup.
There we go.
Yeah, I love those. Those three are very inspirational. So it was exciting just writing strictly from imagination and not having to do historical research.
Wow.
So Rebecca would like to know what age group you're aiming at for.
Oh, definitely adult.
For adult.
Yeah, young adult maybe, but I don't know what classifies as young adult. I think your characters have to be teenagers, and they're not. My characters are in their 20s, some are in their 50s, kind of. So definitely adult. No bad themes or anything. It's all clean fiction, but
just an advanced reader there. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And then Beverly says, "You're amazing getting them out so quickly. I was amazed.
I haven't done it yet, so we'll see.
That I've already got or I have to get it already purchased. Well, I mean, like your 28 books, like they're not just all novellas. Like, I mean,
I have a lot of books out already. Yeah, so
and they're all word count, but these are like books. Like,
yeah, they're books. So you can see my bookcase behind me. Those are all my books. I said, oh, I guess I'll have to finish writing once my space is all used up.
Wait, does it have it all labeled? Like each book has a letter on it, the follower?
Oh, of my follower series? Yes, that's how I did the spines, so that it looked cool.
That is cool.
Oh, like an anagram.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So
Charlene really wants to read your fantasy.
So good. At least a few people will read them.
Yeah, follow Demi. Are you going to be writing under DM Griffin, or is this another?
I'm going to write under Demi Griffin for the fantasy. And then when I go back to biblical fiction, I'll do the DM Griffin. I don't know.
Yeah, Charlene, you have my permission to internet stalk Demi, so you get all the details. Yeah, that sounds fantastic. So awesome.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations on this. We're excited to see where you're going and the in the next few years, apparently.
Yeah.
Like, we need to learn Demi's brain strategy here. If anyone wants to do writing sprints, we now have Demi as our
Yeah,
and I didn't even know, except for she's the hour-long sprint. Mine are the 25-minute sprints.
Yeah. She won't let us go, though, if we don't get words down. So I like this.
10,000 words a day, ladies. Come on.
Oh.
10,000.
Oh, no cry now.
I was all happy because I got 500 words today in my 2 hours.
500 is, I'm impressed with 500.
I'm impressed of myself.
I love it. I love it. Well, if you are, if you've watched all the way to the end, like I said, the comments will be open through Friday. We appreciate your flexibility with our technology.
I know.
At the beginning. And yeah, make sure you're commenting and internet stalking Demi so you know all what's going to be doing. And then be sure to read some of her books. We do have can you tell us, do you have the covers there with you of the Encounter series, or?
I do.
Can you show us the ones that are digitally up for grabs here with this giveaway?
So, The Crumbs Off Heaven's Table. Okay, where's the camera? There we go. That's the first book.
And that is the...
This is the Syrophoenician woman with the demon-possessed daughter. This is the Crooked Daughter. And this is about the woman that was bent over for 18 years. And a lot of this was that incident I told you guys about when I ended up with the MRI and I had to do 10 months worth of physical therapy to be able to walk again. A lot of that went into that book. And then Touch of Power is the woman with the issue of blood.
What is the round seal on the first two books?
Crumbs Off Heaven's Table won the Independent Author Awards for Literary Global for 2024.
Nice.
And Crooked Daughter won the Pencraft Awards for summer of 2024.
Wonderful.
So these two got their little awards, so they're happy.
That's exciting.
And then do you have a cover of
Return of the Sun?
Today, Return of the Sun?
Yes.
There
she is.
It's a pretty cover. That looks like
I know.
blue, Demi.
The rose, I wish it was brighter though, but I kept working with it and I just couldn't get it to do it. It looks better on the digital though. So.
Well, very cool. Well, congratulations so much. Thank you for joining us here on
it's great to talk to you guys face to face.
And always contributing and all that you do for the biblical fiction community. We are so thankful for our writers who can write 1 million books a year and the ones who can only write one a year. We're grateful for them too. And then also thank you for the readers for joining us. We're really very grateful for all of it.
Absolutely.
How fast you guys read because you're amazing. We just love you. So
yes,
be sure you're commenting. I'm sure Demi will pop on and answer more questions if you put those in the comment zone here or in the question. Yeah, put them in here and that way they can count for points. But Demi will hop on throughout the week and answer questions. And then feel free to share this. It is they would have to join BFA if they're not yet members to make sure that they are answering the questions. And they're just, I agree to the rules and to be a kind person. And this is for historical fiction set in Bible times. So we're excited for that. And thank you all so much for joining us again.
Thank you.
Okay.
We will see you around online.